Two Canadians have qualified for the Tour Championship. Corey Conners leading the way at 19th in the FedEx Cup standings, along with Nick Taylor, who's 25th. But, Bob, we first have to talk about Taylor Pendrith because he had a great season. He finished a couple shots short of advancing to the Tour Championship. But do you think this is another good stepping stone in Pendrith's career?
Yeah, I do, and I think there's a couple of good ways you can measure it up. I think the one thing we looked at is putting. He was such a great putter last year in the top 10, well back in the 90s going into that last tournament. So the putter wasn't really working like it did a year ago, and yet he came within 3 spots of making it back to the Tour Championship. So that kind of shows you he finds other ways to get things done. I like his relaxed approach. I like the way he's never gets too stressed, at least outwardly. And he's probably a little bit more consistent this year in putting in good scores and getting rid of those 74s and 75s than he has been for a little while. So there's still lots to love about him. And I think, he's all set for next year. He's got all the signature tournaments. He's loaded in there. So pretty good positivity and a good solid season.
4 top 10s on the season for Taylor Pendrith, including a career-best T5 finish at the PGA Championship. That is best finish at a major championship. Okay, let's get to the Canadians playing this week. Starting with Corey Conners. He hasn't had his best stuff during the playoffs, including an 80 at the BMW Championship. I know you exchanged a couple of messages with him too.
Well, I reached out when I saw that 80 and I just texted him. I had to text him about something else, but I said, I just wanted to make sure you're not sick or ill. Was there something that happened with that 80? And he came right back and said, nope, just one of those days where nothing was working. He's had a couple of those days this year, but overall he's been pretty consistent with his low rounds, top 10 finishes, top 15 finishes. And when you see his name up there, I mean, he started the playoffs, I think, in 13th position. So he's had a really solid, good season without a win. That's the only thing really that's missing. And you kind of wonder if he has to maybe find a way, do something different, get a little more aggressive, do something with his golf game next season to try and eke out some of those wins. Winning is tough on the PGA Tour. It's not easy by any means. But Corey Conners with 2 wins, that doesn't add up to me.
Okay, Bob, how about Nick Taylor? T44, T33 in the first 2 playoff events. I know you spoke to him after the first playoff event, and he seemed frustrated with his game. What do you think his mindset is heading into the Tour Championship now?
The tough part for Nick Taylor is that when he tries to force things, it doesn't work that well. He's great when he just lets it happen. And his coach was telling me afterwards that he thought he was really trying to push things in Memphis to try and move up. Not that he had to worry. He wasn't going to miss the Tour Championship. He'd already basically qualified for that, but he wanted to get deeper in there. He wanted to prove that he could be, as good as anything that's out there on that group. But when he starts to do that is when he has trouble. And that's what happened last year when he was pushing to try and get on the President's Cup team, when he starts to force things and he doesn't really just let it happen. He's great under pressure. He's great in those moments when you have to, win a playoff, as we've seen so many times over the years. So he shouldn't really be worrying about those things. He still had a good year. He still had a really solid year. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that Nick Taylor was always on the bubble, like around 120, and had to really hit the gas just to keep his card. Well past that. He's a great golfer right now, and I think there's more on the way.
So Corey Conners has been captain consistency this season. Nick Taylor has a win in 2025, but at the Tour Championship, who do you think has the better week?
I'm going to say Nick Taylor. I think he's going to push the pedal down, as I said, and I think that I like his overall game right now. I like the fact that he can be aggressive if things start to work, if he doesn't talk himself out of it. So I think he might be the one to watch.